The fall sports season is underway in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, as the Gateway Gators host the Penn Hills Indians in a WPIAL 3A Section 4 matchup. We wish you a pleasant good evening and welcome to Pete Annamarino Stadium on the campus of Gateway High School in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, as the Gators take on the Penn Hills Indians. These two teams met twice last year, both teams winning on their home fields. Gateway winner 4-1 on September 22nd here at Pete Annamarino Stadium. Meanwhile, early in the season, Penn Hills hosted the Gateway Gators, and it was a 3-0 win for the Penn Hills Indians. So it was a big win in the early season for Penn Hills, though Gateway was the team that ended up making the WPIAL 3A playoffs out of this Section 4. Winning a lot of games down the stretch, ended up finishing the season with a record of 8-5-1 in the conference, ended up finishing third in the conference. Meanwhile, Penn Hills finished fifth in the conference and did not qualify for the playoffs in a very, very tough conference here in WPIAL Section 3, and we are underway here in Monroeville, PA. Good to have you along with us this evening here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. Gators holding the possession right now. Penn Hills takes it back and knocks it to the left-hand side. Indians push it back to midfield, but the Gators regather possession. Headed back and forth near midfield. And the ball pushed near side. Rossi pushing it forward for the Gators, taken away by the Indians on the defensive end, but Gateway takes it back near midfield. Now the Indians pushing it back. Again, taking a look a season ago, Gateway 10-8-1. While Penn Hills was 6-10 overall, 5-9 within the section. Gators made the playoffs, as I said, lost to Kiski in the first round of the WPIAL playoffs. A year ago, the Gators were scoring about 4 goals per game while allowing just under 3 goals per game. Penn Hills, 2.16 goals per game on average last year, and an even 2.0 goals against last year for the Indians. First match of the season for the visiting Indians, while Gateway has one match under their belt, a loss to Hampton a week ago. Plum, winners of the section a year ago, finished with a record of 13-1 in the conference. In the WPIAL semifinals, they lost to WPIAL runner-up Ambridge, who lost to Moon in the WPIAL championship game. Then the Mustangs traveled down to Peters Township and defeated Montour in the third place game. So the Mustangs ended up finishing third in the WPIAL and making it into the state playoffs. Franklin Regional, Gateway, and Penn Trafford all qualified for the playoffs a season ago out of this section. Franklin Regional, the runners-up. Gateway, as I said, finished third, tied with Penn Trafford at a record of 8-5-1. Ball punted forward by Penn Hills, but the Gators take it away midfield. Gators had a good opportunity to take a charge at one, but the ball a little too strong for James Lococo. Talked about what happened in the section a year ago, and as we take a look at this WPIAL AAA Section 4, Franklin Regional, Gateway, Latrobe, McKeesport, Obama, who's usually in the City League but plays WPIAL soccer. Then you've got Penn Hills, Penn Trafford, and Plum. Teams that didn't make the playoffs last year, talked about Penn Hills not qualifying. Latrobe, Obama, and McKeesport was actually winless in the conference a year ago. First time we've seen Penn Hills with possession inside of Gateway territory, but the Gators took it away and head back the other way with it. Lococo, that was Nick Lococo pushing that one forward. Taken away by Penn Hills. Indians with it near side. Collins was able to bring it down the near sideline for Penn Hills, but the Gators took it right back away and looked to push it to the offensive end, but stolen away again by Penn Hills. That takeaway far side by Dumerson. Ball scooped up by the Gators netminder, Jack Quetter. And the Gators with an opportunity here. Trying to step around the goaltender, Camden Simon. But the stop is made by Landon Hankey. So big stop there for the Indians, preventing Camden Simon with a perfect opportunity to score a goal. 5 minutes played thus far here in half number 1. Second home game of the season for the Gators, and as I said, the first game of the season for the Penn Hills Indians. And Penn Hills will have a throw-in along the near side. Looking ahead for Penn Hills. Indians host McKeesport on August 31st, and then they host the Latrobe Wildcats in conference before hitting the road, traveling to Penn Trafford, and then wrapping up that 5-game stretch at home against the Franklin Regional Panthers. So a lot of home games early in the season for Penn Hills. Looks to bounce back after a season where they did not qualify for the playoffs. Gateway again taking a charge. Pushed forward, sliding, trying to get that ball around the netminder. But a good defensive play by Penn Hills knocks that ball to the far side as Hankey went down to the turf. Nice job by the Indians. Jeremy Safran to knock that one to the far boundary. Gateway knocking it back. Penn Hills retreating. Crosses the end line.
Corner kick.
And this will be a corner for Gateway.
Nick Lococo.
So it'll be Nick Lococo on the corner from that far side. Challenge for Hankey as this corner makes its way in. And then it's booted out of bounds by Blake Marsh of the Gators. And that'll lead to another corner kick as it was last touched by Penn Hills before going across the end line. So another corner for Gateway, and again it's Lococo trying to boot this one in. Header towards the net goes awry.
Header by Keegan Kuiper, a little bit wide left. Goal kick.
Take another look at this one. Kuiper trying to redirect that corner all the way towards the goal, but like I said, carried wide to the left-hand side, and that'll allow Penn Hills netminder Landon Hankey boot that one out towards midfield. The Gators gathered in, though. Look to turn some defense into offense. Vagney leaving it back. Now it's Lococo. Booted forward, knocked to the near boundary by Penn Hills. Good hustle by Gateway's Camden Simon to run that one down along the near boundary. And it stays with the Gators after Penn Hills had the touch for a moment. Now Lococo has a defender in front of him, pushes it midfield. Kuiper goes far side, and the ball run down by Landon Hankey, the netminder. Hankey's boot carries all the way to that far sideline. And it's a turnover for Penn Hills as the Gators will have the throw in far side. Gateway trying to rush this one forward, but the Penn Hills defenders retreat and take it back. Back to midfield it goes, and Lococo gets it for the Gators. Trying to head it backwards is a Gator near about 30 yards out from the end line. And that Gator getting knocked down Foul against Penn Hills gives the Gators the ball.
Gator ball.
And this will be Nick Lococo, the junior. Putting this one straight towards the net. Defender leaps up, knocks that one down to the near side along the turf. Strong defensive play for Jeremy Safran. Penn Hills with the takeaway again as Gateway look to push it into the offensive zone. Gateway takes it back at midfield. Simon pushing it forward. Hankey scooping it up for Penn Hills. Hankey with the punt all the way to midfield, headed up by Gateway. Lawley knocking it far side. Gateway keeping it in along that far boundary. Could have been a throw in for the Gators. Instead, Gateway has it pushed out to midfield, pushed back. And now here comes Lococo on the rush for Gateway. Trying to put a charge in it towards Simon, but it's knocked away by an Indian defenseman and knocked to the far sideline by Anthony Foglia. That leads to a Gateway throw in far boundary. Gateway picking up the pace here. 10 minutes played. This ball bounces to the near side, scooped up by the netminder, Landon Hankey. Punted out towards midfield. Gateway again taking it away after the long kick by Hankey. Kick back, Lococo. He'll push it forward. Blake Marsh for the Gators. Had it taken away as it was pushed forward by Gateway. Kuiper couldn't hold the possession. Now Penn Hills has it. Now Marsh for the Gators. Taken away again. So Penn Hills has been on their heels, but their defenders have been up to the task thus far. Gateway from the midfield. Sharp pass. Shot towards the net by Keegan Kuiper. And that carries wide to the left side. Said Kuiper, 13. Forgive me, that was Blake Marsh, number 10. Kuiper with the pass to Marsh. Marsh with that left foot. As you can see on our replay, and that carries just wide to that left-hand side, and that'll allow Landon Hankey, senior goalkeeper, kick this one all the way out towards midfield where it's run down by the Gators. Gateway pushing it forward towards midfield again. It's Kuiper, stolen away. Far side it goes. Dumerson trying to push it forward. Now with it, Shiflett. Rolling back and scooped up by Gateway keeper, Jack Queter. Sun setting here in Monroeville on a beautiful evening. Currently 77 degrees in southwestern Pennsylvania. Light winds. It's been reasonably humid over the last week. Had our breaks. Things will start to cool down a bit tomorrow, but then heat's going to ramp up again as we head into the weekend and into next week. But before we get to next week, we've got tonight's broadcast as we have 25 minutes remaining in the first half and then a second half to go. And of course, on Friday night, we travel to Woodland Hills as the Gateway Gators football team takes on the Woodland Hills Wolverines in a non-conference matchup. Next week, girls soccer action in our game of the week as the girls take on Franklin Regional before the Gators football team hosts back-to-back home games against North Hills in non-conference and against Franklin Regional in conference, and that's sandwiched around a girls volleyball match in the week ending September 15th. Gateway pushing it forward. Taken back by Penn Hills, though.
Number 11, Carlins Joseph, into the Indian lineup.
Now in the match for Penn Hills, Carlins Joseph, senior for Penn Hills. Gateway trying to punch that one down into the offensive end, taken back away by Penn Hills. And the action has settled towards midfield a bit more after through the first 7 minutes or so. It was weighted to our left as Gateway was holding the possession. Gateway forced to retreat. Rossi knocking it over to her teammate, knocked back to midfield and then booted down the near sideline by Penn Hills, so Gateway will have a throw-in. Ball down this near sideline. Camden Simon trying to run it down for Gateway. And it rolls all the way across the end line. And Penn Hills will have a throw in along the near boundary, tossing it in for the Indians, Luke Houlihan. And a battle for it by Gateway, getting the takeaway. It's Lococo.
Number 32, Amar Morrell Merriweather, is into the Gator lineup.
Far sideline it goes as you hear a substitution is in for Gateway. Amar Morrell Merriweather, the freshman on the field for the Gateway varsity team. And that's him right there with the number 32 on his jersey. Gateway off the set piece. It's about 35 yards from the end line, well on that far sideline. Booted high. Landon Hankey runs it down for the
Indians.
Penn Hills Indians.
Shot by Harshman. Make that Hansman.
Near side it comes for Penn Hills. Pushing it forward. Racing down the near side with it. Dumerson. Dumerson centering pass headed down to the turf by Gateway. Near sideline it comes. Two Gators there. Taken away by Lococo. Gateway trying to race towards midfield, but it's kept by Penn Hills. Knocked back by Kuiper after the takeaway for the Gators. Good offensive pass. Here comes Marsh. Marsh towards the net. Carries just wide.
Marsh on that shot. Wide left.
We'll take another look at this one as Marsh racing down those far numbers. Settles and puts a nice one towards the net. That had crossed Hankey. The angle just not sharp enough. And Gateway with the midfield takeaway after the deep kick by the netminder Hankey for Penn Hills. Left back, Gateway with some numbers. Good defensive play there by the Indians out front. And Penn Hill's looking to turn some defense into offense. Pass pushed forward. Gator defender racing back, trying to keep it away from a Indian racing down this near sideline, and Gateway does take it back from Penn Hills.
Good defensive play by Bagney.
And Gateway
Here
crossing
comes
midfield.
Lococo.
James Lococo with an offensive rush. Battle for it near sideline. It'll come throw in for the Gators.
Gator ball.
Throw in comes near boundary. Rossi pushing it back. Now it's Merrill Merriweather. Taken away by the Indians. Joseph to the far side. That'll carry across the far boundary and a throw in for Gateway on that far side. Quick throw in for the Gators on that far side. Gateway in the midfield. Penn Hills was satisfied to hang back. This gives Gateway the opportunity to take a rush at it. Ball left back. Racing towards it for the Gators, Merrill Merriweather far side. And again, Gateway's going to push it back to the midfield. Long pass headed to the far sideline by Penn Hills. By Burns. Attempted a tackle. Gateway maintains. Good defensive play, pushes the ball near side, but they're going to say foul against Penn Hills there. That's going to go against Ari Silverman. Silverman doesn't like that call. That's going to allow a set piece for the Gators here. It's a pretty decent opportunity, though the ball will be pushed back a little bit further. This is about 30 yards out from
James
the net.
Lococo on the kick.
James Lococo will get things started here. He kicks it right at the line of three Penn Hills defenders. Silverman, who was guilty of the foul causing that set piece, got the defensive play made. Now Hankey will boot it out after it was knocked towards him by Merrill Merriweather. Bouncing all the way back towards the Gators net and headed back towards Gateway's keeper, Jack Queter. Now it's Nick Lococo, shoving it forward for Kuiper. Opportunity here for the Gators. Oh, and it carries just wide left again.
Wide left.
As it was Blake Marsh, the senior. He had Landon Hankey coming out at him. As we take another look back at this set piece moments ago, I don't think that ball went exactly where the Gators wanted it to go. Nice opportunity on the last rush for the Gators that comes up empty. And instead we'll have Landon Hankey with a goal kick out to midfield and headed back from midfield by the Gators as it's Kuiper. Finding Marsh. Near side for Nick Lococo. Taken away from Marsh. Penn Hills looking to push it out the other way.
Back for Penn Hills.
Lally initially had the takeaway by the Indians, but the ball given back to Gateway. This will be Will Hansman. Off to Lococo. In it goes, left back Lococo. A long go at it. And the save is made by Landon Hankey.
Lococo. Hankey on the
Hankey bringing
save.
this one all the way out to midfield. And Gateway takes it back again at midfield. Rushed forward. One-on-one opportunity for Gateway, but a good defensive play there by the Indians. Karatko. Gators with a quick throw in. Soft shot towards the net by Marsh, scooped up by Hankey. And Landon Hankey pushing it all the way out towards midfield again. This one over the head of the Gators defenders. Chance taken there by keeper Queter.
Queter for the Gators.
Queter rushes out there, grabs hold of the ball, shutting down the opportunity for Penn Hills there. Gators. Only Queter between the ball and Adam Alali, the sophomore. Gators with the takeaway far side. Carlins Joseph had it taken away, knocked to that far side. Across the end line, it'll be a corner kick for Penn Hills here, as Joseph will take it from that far corner. Gateway stacking their defenders in that box. Headed back by Gateway. Well-timed leap and head by Lococo, knocking it near side, but the ball works its way in, and a big save by Queter. A wide open net on that right side of Queter, and he dives and makes the stop.
From less than 10 feet.
Great opportunity there for the Indians. Mac Burns, but it was Queter with the diving stop for the Gators. And another corner here for Penn Hills, as they had a real legitimate shot at a goal after the last corner. This corner making its way into the box. Bicycle kick, Queter again the save. And they'll say that it hits off of the football goal post, which is out of bounds, and leads to another corner.
Corner kick.
We'll take another look at this one, as this corner into the box, hipped out of there by Lococo. Like I said, that bicycle kick knocked back towards the net, and Queter leaping high to carom that one up off of the crossbar, and then the football crossbar, which again is out of play, and leads to another corner for Penn Hills. This one knocked near side and will carry all the way across the end line and lead to a goal kick. So Gateway finally able to get the heat out of a very hot kitchen. It was all Gateway early on. But a rush put on by Penn Hills, and the Indians have applied the pressure offensively. Owen Echegari comes in.
Echegari is into the Gator line.
The goal kick by Gateway, pushed out towards midfield. Bit of an inconsequential foul against Penn Hills, and Gateway is going to have an opportunity here to push the ball forward as Penn Hills is forced to retreat. Max Fry far side, battling with an Indian, and the ball is ultimately taken away by a Lawley on that far side. And Penn Hills now has the possession. Pushed far back. And they'll see if Hankey can start the rush for the Indians, but instead it'll be knocked back by the Indians. It looked like Lococo had an opportunity, but a nice adjustment to the ball in the air by Penn Hills. Now the Gators have to knock it all the way back to Queter. Queter kicking it near side, and it goes out off of a Gator on the near side as Mac Burns kicked that one off of a Gateway player, and it leads to a Burns throw-in. Gateway with the takeaway. Not a great pass there by Penn Hills. But Gateway gives it right back in the midfield, and then a foul is called against the Gators' Keegan Kuiper. And that gives Penn Hills an opportunity to push this ball deeper into Gators territory. Getting another opportunity for a goal as Queter has, to borrow a hockey term, stood on his head in the latter stages of this half number one. Back to midfield. See if the Gators can turn the tide. Here's the Gators with an opportunity with the go. Left back though. It's a good chance there for Marsh. Marsh trying to leave it back for a teammate instead. And Gateway with another chance as Marsh pushing it forward. A Gator knocked down. This one carry wide by Keegan Kuiper.
Goal kick.
And that'll lead to a goal kick for the Penn Hills Indians keeper, Landon Hankey. As Penn Hills subs in
Number 2
into the game for the Indians, Chase Delahanty.
is in for the Indians.
Ball to the far sideline. And Gateway was ready to throw it in quickly, but the ball that had originally gone out of field was knocked back in, and there would have been 2 balls on the field. But things sorted out. Gateway with the throw in, knocked out of bounds again by Penn Hills. And Gateway to, not have a throw in. It will be a kick from that far side for the Gators. Just over 10 minutes to play here in half number 1. Penn Hill 0, Gateway 0. Both teams have had decent opportunities. There was a short stretch where Penn Hills was really threatening and Queter showed up big. Nice pass there by Gateway, but a better defensive play to shut down that opportunity by Anthony Collins. And that'll lead to a corner kick for the Gators over on this near corner towards the bottom left of your screen.
Nick Lococo on the kick.
Nick Lococo taking the corner kick. Into the box, headed up high by Houlihan for Penn Hills. Knocked down to the turf is Lococo. Lococo's going to set up his team. This one about 17 yards away from the end line, but well on this near side. You can see the official pushing the 2 Indians defenders back. Let's see what Lococo does here. Right towards the net, and a diving stop is made by Landon Hankey. Big play by Hankey, the goaltender. Back the other way go the Indians now. And a takeaway by the Gators. The freshman, Amar Morel Merriweather, with a strong defensive play. And a sub in for the Gators as out goes Keegan Kuiper. Also have a sub for Penn Hills that's checking out for the Indians, Ari Silverman. In for the Gators, Troy Bowden. On the near side, Gateway trying to push it out towards midfield and turn this into some offense. It's Marsh leaving it back. Lococo. Gateway with a second opportunity after the rush. Battle for it. And the ball bounces once, twice, and into the net. A Gateway goal for Owen Echegari. Gateway very patient there and turns it into a goal. As we take another look at this one. Strong play there, and then Echegari goes down, a defender on his back, the netminder in front of him. But Echegari gets the goal for the Gators, and Gateway up 1-0 on the rival Indians.
Gateway goal scored by number 11, Owen Echegari. Time of the goal, 7:39. Owen Echegari.
Takeaway by Gateway. Here come the Gators. It's pushed forward, but a defender back near midfield able to take it back for Penn Hills, but Gateway has found some new life. It's Lococo down the middle. 3 defenders surround him, leaving it off for a teammate, and another Gateway goal.
Goal, Gators!
This time, Lococo finds Blake Marsh, and Marsh puts it in that right corner of the net, and Gateway takes a 2-0 lead. As you can see, the Gators turning defense right
Gateway
into
goal
offense.
scored by number 10, Blake Marsh. Time of the goal, 7:04. Blake Marsh.
So Penn Hills with some work to do now. They had a couple of opportunities with about 15 minutes to go in this half. But Gateway has turned the tide over the last 7 minutes and has reclaimed the momentum, scoring 2 goals in a matter of minutes. And this one carrying behind the goal and will lead to a goal kick for Gateway's Jack Queter. Queter pounding this one to the far side. To midfield, taken back by Penn Hills. Good chance here for the Indians, but the Gators defenders are up to the task and take it away, at least for the moment. Back out towards midfield again. And Gateway knocking it back to midfield. Indians defenders having to work this one all the way back to Hankey. Far side it goes, and the Gators again at the midfield with the defensive play getting it back. Kick to the far side. Last touch by Penn Hills, so a Gateway throw-in on that far side. Three defenders surrounding a Gator. There's the ball knocked back towards midfield. Knocked down. And again knocked out of bounds by a Gator defender. Slowing down a run for the Penn Hills Indians, Mac Burns. And another throw in over on that far side for Burns. We're going to have a conversation. Burns going to have a talk with the referee, and the referee says take a few steps back. Ball's at midfield. Gateway trying to get it back and turn it into another offensive chance here. Less than 5 minutes to go in half number 1. Penn Hills with the ball after a Gators foul. Now the Gators with the takeaway. Play kind of slowed there for a moment. Gateway's going to try to take advantage of the lull by the Indians. Can't do so. Great tackle there, knocking the ball away from Gateway's Blake Marsh, and it rolls all the way across the end line. Last touched by the Gators. So Penn Hills will have an opportunity here to kick this ball out of there. I'm not 100% sure looking at that replay that the last touch was by Gateway. But regardless, now I think I heard one of the officials say a corner, which I think may be the right call, but we're going to have to iron this out and see if it was last touched by Gateway according to our officials, or if it's a last touch by Penn Hills. If it's last touch by Penn Hills, it should be a corner. Instead, they're going to say Penn Hills has the opportunity to boot this one out just inside the 18 box. Hankey. Long kick. Caromed off the face of one of his teammates. It's Carlins Joseph, who's still a bit shaken up. Back on the offensive end of the play for Penn Hills as the ball rolls near sideline. Gateway's going to have a throw in and 2 subs in for the Gators. As Gateway substituting liberally, Lococo out. Also out of the game, Max Fry checking in for Gateway, Keegan Kuiper.
Numbers 6, Peter Reynolds and Kuiper.
Peter Reynolds also checking in for Gateway. Reynolds, the junior defender. Kicked far side. Can Gateway run it down? It's Bowden. Off to the side of his foot. Pushed forward by the Gators. Now Echegari, who has a goal. Three minutes to play here in half number 1. Gateway up 2-0 on Penn Hills. One of these teams looking to come out of here with their first conference win of the season. Gateway looking to knot up their regular season record at 1-1 after the loss to Hampton a week ago. Penn Hills, like I said, this is their first match of the season playing in conference. Rossi trying to push it forward. Now with it for Gateway is Kuiper. Kuiper one touch. Now Marsh. Fed forward by the Gators. Racing forward for Gateway was Bowden. But it'll be scooped up by Landon Hankey, senior goalkeeper for Penn Hills. Now down to just over 2 minutes to go here in half one. Penn Hills with a chance here. Indians pushing it forward. It's Joseph. The Gators shaken up for a moment as Joseph has it tackled away from him. Late on the whistle. And Joseph got up with a head of steam. Cooler heads ended up prevailing. And this will allow Penn Hills to set up a set piece.
Indians kick.
This one will be about 6 or 7 yards outside of that 18 box. Good opportunity here for the Indians.
1 minute left in the half.
Mac Burns will get this one started with just under a minute to go here in the half. We've seen the Indians have some success, no goals, but some success offensively coming off of corners. And now off of this set. This one off of a Gateway defender, and then again Gateway knocking it out of there. Strong defensive presence by Gateway as they line up. And now it's scooped up by Queter as Gateway boots it out. This one will carry all the way forward. And it eludes a Gateway Gator charging towards the net in James Lococo. And will be scooped up by Landon Hankey, booted away by Hankey. And this one will settle down. About 10 seconds to go here in the half. We'll roll to that far side. Gateway trying for one last chance. A centering pass carries high. And that'll do it for half number one. As the Gateway Gators take a 2-0 lead to the halftime.
The Gators scored
with goals by Owen Echegare and Blake Marsh. And for all intents and purposes, Gateway controlled a good portion of that first half. However, once we got into about the 15-minute mark of the first half, Penn Hills had a couple of opportunities coming off of corners. Strong goaltending play by the Gateway netminder Queter, and Queter with a couple of big stops. A diving one to his right, another one where he leaped up high and knocked it off the crossbar. Kept Penn Hills off of the board, and that probably gave some momentum to Gateway, and they turned that momentum into a couple of late goals in the first half. We're going to step away here at halftime. When we return, second half action. It's the Gators 2, the Penn Hills Indians 0, and you're watching GatewayGatorProductions.com. Set to start half number 2 here at Pete Annamarino Stadium. Adam Gusky on the call for you this evening, filling in for Spencer Witt as the Gateway Gators lead the Penn Hills Indians 2-0 in this WPIAL AAA Section 4 matchup. Again, these two teams split their series last year, both teams winning at home. It was Penn Hills early in the season on August 30th with the victory in Penn Hills, Pennsylvania, but the Gators got the 4-1 win on September 22nd here in Monroeville. Again, Gateway finishing third in the conference a year ago, qualifying for the WPIAL playoffs where they lost to the Kiski Cavaliers. Penn Hills finished 5th, did not qualify for the playoffs. Gateway scoring right about a goal and a quarter more per game than their opponents, while Penn Hills scored about a 1/10 of a goal more than their opponent on average a season ago. Gateway's 0-1. Penn Hills is 0-0 coming into today, though the Gators hold this 2-0 lead on the Penn Hills Indians. Goals for Gateway by Owen Echegare and Blake Marsh. That's where we stand. 2 minutes, or rather 1 minute plus, here into half number 2. Our first Gateway Game of the Week production. We had last week's Gateway football game on the road at Mount Lebanon. We'll have Gateway football again this upcoming Friday at Woodland Hills before girls soccer next week, and then the football team will return to Pete Annamarino Stadium on September 8th to take on the North Hills Indians. Then it's girls volleyball against Penn Hills. And then 2 weeks from Friday, the first conference home football game against the Franklin Regional Panthers. Throughout the year, Vince Russo will be on the call with me for most football games. Also have Spencer Witt joining us for a lot of games this season, especially soccer and volleyball. And Spencer slated to join Vince for, in all likelihood, at least one football game this year. As this ball pushed back and racing up to gather it in is Landon Hankey for Penn Hills. Indians trying to turn the takeaway into some offense, but this one bounces wide for Jack Queter.
Goal kick.
And Queter will kick this one out in front of the net for the Gators. Leaves it back for a teammate. Gateway pushing it forward. A Gator knocked down. Tripped up by Silverman. So we take another look at this one. You can see Silverman coming from behind, knocking down that Gateway player. This will set things up for Lococo.
Gator kick.
This one about 36 yards away from that end line. Lococo shoves it forward. Now it's Lococo, 1-on-none, and kicks it just a bit high, and it'll carry over the band bleachers and onto the track. Lococo saw an opportunity there, put a good charge into it, but well too strong, and that turns into a goal kick for the Penn Hills Indians. Push forward again for Gateway. Left back. And a chance for Marsh, and another goal for Blake Marsh. Good passing there for the Gateway Gators as Kuiper pushes it over to Blake Marsh. And Marsh with the goal, his second of the game. And Gateway stretches their lead to 3-0 on Penn Hills with less than 36 minutes remaining. Again, Blake Marsh, second goal of the game for the senior for Gateway.
Gateway goal, his second of the game. Scored by number 10, Blake Marsh. Assisted by number 13, Keegan Kuiper. Time of the goal, 35-38.
So Penn Hills looking to create some offense here. Not able to do so as Gateway takes it away from the Indians. But a midfield takeaway by Silverman. Gateway getting it right back. Pass intended for Bowden near side, rolls all the way to the near corner. Kept in, though, by Gateway. Ball to the near sideline. We're going to have a throw-in over on this near boundary for Penn Hills. Foglia with the throw-in. Kicked back by the Gator defender, or by the Gator offensive player, as it bounces its way to Landon Hankey, who scoops it up. And we'll look to punt this one away. At the top of the box, a drop kick.
Big boot. by Henke.
And a collision. And it's a Gateway player and Will Hansman. He collides with Adam Alali, and Alali gets to his feet after being shaken up momentarily. And it'll be Indians' ball. Setting things up, Safran. A long push towards the net, headed back the other way by a Gator defender. Knocked far boundary. Gateway methodically pushing it forward down that far side, now leaving it back. Trying to reset things going the other way. More greenery this way. Towards the middle. Now pushed far side. Long pass completed. Back for Marsh again, but taken away. Good defensive play there by the Indians. Travis Karatko. And a long go by Penn Hills. And the Gators forced to retreat to run that one down. Ball to the far sideline, throw in for the Indians. Already talked about the next handful of games here on GatewayGatorProductions.com, but stick with us all school year long as we will have football to go along with boys and girls soccer and volleyball here in the fall. And then as we transition into the winter time, we'll bring you boys and girls basketball to go along with wrestling and swimming. And then into the spring we will go where we'll have boys volleyball to go along with boys lacrosse.
Reader on the save.
Now that the softball facility is completed, as well as the baseball facility, we may take a look at the practicalities of at least broadcasting a game or two from that facility. But we can assure you that if it is possible, we will do our best to make it happen come springtime. We've got a lot of sports between then and now, including the Gateway Gator football team who came into this 2023 football season ranked #1 in the WPIAL. Had a tough go of it against Mount Lebanon. Very physical Blue Devil team who defeated Gateway. They dropped to 0-1 and will take on the 0-1 Woodland Hills Wolverines, who fell to Central Catholic as this one, splitting the uprights for Gateway.
Goal kick.
And it'll lead to a goal kick for the goalkeeper, Landon Hankey. Hankey to boot this one away. Carries far side. Headed back by a Gateway midfielder, but Penn Hills able to regather. Push forward. Now with it for the Gators is Bowden. Left back again, Bowden. And a couple of Indian defenders in front of him, and a long shot by the Gators carries just left. My goodness, a great opportunity there for the Gators. Some 30 yards out from the goal.
Goal kick.
Had that one been on target, may have been a goal for the Gators. As Hankey was screened, that one got behind the Penn Hills Indian defenders. As I said, nearly led to a Gateway goal, which would have been their fourth. Currently leading Penn Hills are the Gateway Gators 3-0. Pushed in for Marsh. Taken away by the Indian defenders. Kept forward by the Gators, though. Here comes Marsh looking for the hat trick. Pushes it off to a teammate. Sliding to knock that ball across the end line. An Indian defender, and we'll have a corner kick on the near corner. Down to the bottom right-hand side of your screen, it'll be Lococo to trigger the corner for Gateway. Nick Lococo, the junior for Gateway. Lococo sends this one. Headed towards the net, knocked away by the head of a Penn Hills defender. Decent opportunity there for the Gators offense. Lococo has a chance here.
Nice play
But
there
Hankey will
by
come out, slide down, and
Brandon
pull it in.
Hankey.
Booted away by the Penn Hills keeper, Hankey. Gateway corrals it in the midfield. To turn it into some more offense. Much like the first half, the field has been tilted towards the Penn Hills goal. In the first half, we saw Penn Hills have a very short opportunity, truncated chance to get a couple of goals in. But Queter came up big. And as we said, that could have led to some momentum that led to 2 goals for Gateway. Etchegary and Marsh with first half goals, and then Marsh with the lone goal here in the second half for the Gateway Gators. Gateway going to get things started here well outside a legitimate offensive attack zone. It's near the midfield, and the Gators defenders will try to get things going here. At metronome you hear in the background, the Gateway marching band practicing in the parking lot down below the stadium to our left-hand side. Getting set not just for the Gateway football games, but their competitions as the year progresses. Of course, tune into every Gateway football game. We will have the Gateway marching band performances each and every game. Pushed forward by Gateway. Getting tripped up is a Gateway player, Lococo. Take another look at this one. Lococo getting tripped up by the defender, Foglia.
Here comes
And it's a penalty
for
kick.
the Gators.
I wasn't sure if it was awarded. It was out of my field of vision, but it will be a penalty kick awarded to Lococo.
Number 4, Nick Lococo.
After Anthony Foglia committing the infraction inside the box. Let's see what Lococo can do. Run up. The goal for the Gateway Gators. And Nick Lococo stretches the Gateway lead to 4-0 with just under 28 minutes to play here in half number 2. So the Gators well on their way to their first win of the season and their first conference victory of the year, which obviously is most important.
Gateway goal on the penalty kick, scored by number 4, Nick Lococo. Time of the goal, 27:36. Nick Lococo.
Penn Hills setting things up, pushing that ball to the far side. It'll be a throw-in over across the field near the 30-yard line for Gateway. As Gateway bringing in some substitutions, including the player to throw this one in Nate Weichel, the senior. Weichel tossing this one in. Headed back by the Indians, and they'll take it away. Gateway trying to take it away in the midfield. Appeared to be Weichel fighting for it there. It's pushed forward by Gateway. Can you turn this into another goal opportunity for the Gators? Kick back. 2 Indians are there. Knocked near side again for Marsh, who has a pair of goals for the Gators. Sliding through some traffic, Merrill Merriweather. And he gets it back again for Gateway. Near side it comes. Chested down by Lococo, do they call a handball? That appears to be the case. That turnover for Gateway will allow the keeper, Hankey, to kick that one out. This one booted down the near boundary, bouncing all the way out of bounds, and will be a throw in for Peter Reynolds, the junior, for Gateway. Battle for it. Racing forward with it for the Gators. Rossi, check that. That was Hansman, 24 on 14. Now it's Morel Merriweather. Taken away by the Indians. Penn Hills racing far sideline. Stolen away by Gateway. Down the New York side it comes for Gateway. Lococo. Lococo trying to split defenders. Good sliding defensive play. That's Mac Burns with the defensive stop for Penn Hills. The Indians, a team who finished 5-9 a season ago in conference, 6-10 overall. Did not qualify for the WPIAL playoffs. 4 teams out of Section 4 did, though, including Plum, Franklin Regional, Gateway, and Penn Trafford. Plum was 13-1 in conference last season, as were the Franklin Regional Panthers. And the Mustangs, in the WPIAL semifinals, lost to Ambridge, who ended up losing to Moon in the WPIAL championship game at Highmark Stadium. However, Plum did advance to the consolation third place game, which has a lot of bearing in the state playoffs. And the Mustangs ended up defeating Montour to finish third in the WPIAL. This ball kicked near side. Bounced around by the Gators. Ball will be set. And Hankey will come all the way out to boot this one for the Indians, which, for all intents and purposes, clearly indicates that Penn Hills has loaded their offensive end to the left, trying to set something up offensively, trying to get on the board here. So this will be a goal kick for the Gators. It's Queter, who has had a whale of a game, softly pushes that one off to a teammate. Gateway player over here on the near side. Knocked down, it's the freshman, Amar Morel Merriweather. And a foul by the Indians allows the Gators to set this one forward. It's Morel Merriweather with it for Gateway. Good defensive play and the takeaway by the Indians. They'll push it forward and Gateway takes it right back. It was Hansman with the takeaway, but Penn Hills gets it back near midfield. And again, Gateway coming up with the defense to knock it back to the midfield stripe. A battle for it out there as Silverman for Penn Hills tries to battle with Blake Marsh, who has a couple of Gateway goals, and Marsh ends up winning that battle, at least for the moment. Now pushed forward by the Gators. And it's run down by Marsh far side, but the ball will stay with Penn Hills. Kick to the far side by Gateway defenders, and then kick to that far boundary and kept in by the Indians, at least for the moment. Just enough English on that ball to prevent it from spinning across that sideline in front of the Gators bench. 21.5 minutes remain. Gateway up 4-0 on Penn Hills. Well, Merriweather boots that one forward. And the clock will stop here. as a card will be issued to Penn Hills, as that card goes to the Indians, number 12, Reed Tomaszewski. So Tomaszewski gathering that yellow card. Clock stopped here. Let's see what the Gators will do. Earlier we were talking about the success of the Plum Mustangs and how well they did in the WPIAL playoffs a year ago. Well, there you can see that in the Post-Gazette 3A rankings coming into today, Hampton number 1, Moon number 2, Montour 3, Plum 4, and Mars 5. So just one team out of Section 4 in that top 5. That's the Plum Mustangs.
Okay.
Montour ahead of Plum, a team that Plum defeated in the consolation third place game last year at Peters Township High School. This one booted forward by the Indians keeper, Landon Hankey. Ball bouncing around near midfield. Penn Hills with an opportunity. Indians, long go of it. Queter again with the save.
Good save there by Queter.
The Indians haven't had many opportunities, but they have been spot on when they've come through. Queter has just been up to the task for the Gateway Gators. That's the second time we've seen Queter leap up and knock one up above the crossbar, hitting off of the football goal posts out of play. And this sets up a corner kick for the Indians. And this a header to the net, and Penn Hills gets on the board as a textbook corner for the Penn Hills Indians leads to their first goal of the game. We'll take another look at this one. Just a magnificent corner, comes near side, headed to the net, and the goal for the Penn Hills Indians. Carlins Joseph with the goal, set up by Nicky Alfaro with the magnificent corner kick.
Scored by number 11, Carlins Joseph. Time of the goal, 1950.
And now Joseph.
Carlins Joseph.
Trying to turn on the Jets. Comes near side. And out of play it will go. Anthony Collins lost that one across the sideline. Penn Hills finding an extra boost here after the goal from Joseph, set up by a magnificent corner by Nicky Alfaro. Now it's Blake Marsh pushing it forward for the Gators. Right on net. Save made by Hankey.
Shot. Save by Hankey. On the shot by Echeverria.
So Owen Echeverria with that shot, looking for his second goal of the game. It was Marsh who fed it forward to him. Echeverria has a goal today. Marsh has a couple, and of course, most recently, it was Lococo with the goal on the penalty. Knocked back. A beautiful centering pass. Coming back defensively, though, for Penn Hills. Making a great defensive play, keeping Gateway from extending their lead. Take another look at this one. This one bouncing down. Nice job by the Gators to elude the keeper, Hankey, and then trailing the play, the defender knocks it across the end line. But that'll set up a corner for the Gators.
Number 26, Max Fry, is back in for the Gators.
Lococo triggers the corner, knocked down to the turf by Hankey.
By Landon Hankey.
And all the way out to midfield, it'll roll across the sideline. Last touch by the Indians, so it's Gators ball. We saw in the first half, Penn Hills was able to really get some decent opportunities, not directly off the corners, but the play after the corner. But that goal by the Indians here in the second half coming directly off the corner. As we said, a magnificent pass by Alfaro, far corner. Found its way to the head of Carlins Joseph. Was able to knock that one in for the lone Indians goal thus far. So we have 17 minutes to play. The Gators up 4-1. You can't just rest on your laurels here. Gateway well on their way to their first conference victory of the season. However, you want to maintain at least a modicum of pressure as the Gators tripped up on that far sideline. Nate Weichel not at all happy that a foul was not called against Penn Hills. The Gators end up taking it away nonetheless, as it's Marsh pushing it forward far side. Marsh getting it back, trying to split defenders. Ends up losing his footing as the Indians knocked it back out to midfield, but Gateway charges forward again. Indians take it back. To midfield it goes. Now it's James Lococo knocking it back. And then forward. The Indians with the takeaway. And they turn into this into something offensively. As the ball continues to roll to the far side. Who's going to race it down? The Indians will do so, kicked out of bounds by the Gators. So it'll be a throw-in for the Indians as the ball is across the sideline over in that far corner. And to toss that one in for Penn Hills, Chase Delahanty. Headed back to Delahanty off of the throw-in and then kicked across the end line by the Gateway Gators. That will lead to a corner for Penn Hills. This will be Delahanty with the corner over on that far side, trying to catch his breath. Not that long ago, it was a Penn Hills corner perfectly executed. It led to a goal by Carlins Joseph. This one shorter, intended again for Joseph. Or no, excuse me, that was not Joseph, the intended player, but Alali instead for Penn Hills. The Indians not able to get a good opportunity off the set, but maintain the possession for a moment before the Gators clear that one out of there. And this ball coming down the near side. It's Lococo for the Gators. He's back 1-on-1. Leaves it back, and a Gateway goal. Fantastic pass. Lococo to Marsh. Marsh, his third of the game. And the hat trick for Blake Marsh.
Number 4,
Look at this hustle by Lococo coming down the near side. He sees Marsh trailing just over his left shoulder, leaves it off to that far side. Marsh had a step on his defender, and toe-to-toe it goes. And Gateway reclaims a 4-goal lead on the Lococo to Marsh goal. Marsh, like I said, his third of the game, a hat trick. And that certainly thwarts any momentum that Penn Hills had built after some strong defensive play and a couple of good offensive opportunities to go along with their goal off of the corner. Ball kicked up high. Run down by the Indians. It's Collins. Kicked out, though, by Gateway. This one bouncing forward. Settled down by the Gators. Bowden. Back and forth, Bowden. Pushing it forward for Echegari, who has a goal today. Now it's Bowden with a chance. Back it goes, Echegari lobbing this one up over a defender, and it'll be run down by Hankey. Ball rolls far side to the middle of the field. This one rolling forward for Gateway, but Penn Hill's able to kick it near side. Out of bounds it'll go, and a throw in for the Gators. Tossing this one in will be Troy Bowden. Bowden loses it off to a Penn Hills defender. Push back. It's Lococo. Dancing with it. Lococo to Lococo. Far side, Gateway, I think, was offsides, and that'll give the ball over to the Penn Hills Indians. And the keeper, Hankey, will boot that one out. Kicked far side. Kept in by the Indians. Heady play by Alali over there. And Alali gets knocked down. Weichel a bit fiery over there, knocking down Adam Alali, sophomore for Penn Hills.
Indian kick.
So Penn Hills will set one up. This one favoring that far side. 27 out from the end line. Missed time head opportunities for Penn Hills. Rolls near side. That's Gators' ball. Gateway kicks it to midfield. Knocked around by the Indians and will roll near side. Gators' ball again. As Gateway has the throw in, Troy Bowden. Back again. Here comes Gateway with a chance. Big save there by Hankey.
Shot by Camden Simon.
This one trying to curl back towards the net. Ten and a half to play here in half number 2. Gateway up by 4. Hat trick by Marsh. Etchegary with a goal. Nick Lococo with the goal for the Gators. 1 goal thus far for Penn Hills. That one coming off of the corner. Alfaro with the corner kicked in and then headed into the net by Carlins Joseph for the Indians. Nice takeaway. This is Joseph. Joseph hesitating. That allowed the Gators defenders to set up shop in front of him. Joseph would have been well served to continue his path towards the goal. Instead, he slows things down, and the Gators defense able to come back, make the stop. Kick near side. As this one will roll all the way to the boundary. Turnover for the Gators. Gives the Indians an opportunity for a throw in. The official with the whistle to stop this one. Bring Foglia back for the throw in, and he will toss it into Hankey, who kicks it right back to Foglia. And a little pitch and catch. And it's getting a little precarious, and Hankey decides he's going to pick this one out and drop kick it out near the top of the 18 box, as this one will roll all the way to the near sideline and out of bounds. Ultimately a turnover for the Indians, and Gateway will sub in. 2 players in for the Gators. As the clock continues to roll to 8.5 minutes to play. Headed back. Now Gateway trying to set things again as Marsh has returned to the lineup for Gateway. Marsh, who has 3 goals on the evening for the Gators. Now it's Lococo. Pushed forward. Racing out Hankey to gather that one in for the Indians. That rolls to the far side. Gators with some young players out there, including the aforementioned freshman, Amar Morel Merriweather. Near side, Lococo. Rolling to the near boundary. Out last touch by the Indians, so Lococo with the throw in. Coco sidesteps two Indians. Trying to dance his way past numbers 3 and 4, can't do so. And instead, I believe it was brother James who put one towards the net. Landon Hankey makes the save for the Penn Hills Indians.
Loaded on that shot, save.
Troy Bowden apparently was one who took that shot for Gateway. As Penn Hills started an offensive rush, but the Gators took it right back very quickly. Back and forth we go near midfield. Long run at this one. And a goal for the Penn Hills Indians as Gateway got a bit out of sorts there. Goal number 2 for the Indians. Carlins Joseph taking another look at this one. Certainly ill-advised for Queter to come all the way out there with 3 Gator defenders there. You saw one of the Gators looking for a push to no avail. So Carlins Joseph with his second goal of the game for Penn Hills. And the Indians again cut the deficit down to 3, 5-2. Gateway's had 2 4-goal advantages when it was 4-0 and then 5-1. This is the 3rd time today Gateway's lead is at 3. 3-0, 4-1, and now 5-2. The ball bounces far side. This will allow Penn Hills with a throw in on that far sideline with 6 minutes to play. Just when you thought that Gateway had salted this one away and really had claimed every bit of momentum, an ill-advised charge toward the ball by Queter leads to an opportunity and a goal by Carlins Joseph. Again, his second one came off of a corner that he headed in, and that one splitting defenders and getting his way around Jack Queter for the goal for the Penn Hills Indians. Tossed in, carries over the head of the intended Indian, and the Gators get it. Ball pushed forward. Lococo. And again, it is Nick Lococo near side for the Gators, pushing it forward. All the way down this near boundary, it will bounce out of bounds, and a throw in for Penn Hills. They'll toss it all the way back to keeper Hankey. As we have less than 5 minutes remaining. Indians trying to push the issue. Dancing forward. Carlins Joseph. Some nifty footwork, but the Gators defenders were there to take things away. Now another opportunity for the Indians, but a handball. Or no, they'll say offside against Penn Hills. Now, Penn Hills had been offside early in that. The ball was not headed toward that player. The officials let it go for the moment. Then ultimately the offside leads to the possession being given back to the Gateway Gators, and Gateway will be happy on that far side to slow things down on this throw-in by Will Hansman. Gateway slowly bringing it up. 2 Indian defenders there to take it away. Now it's pushed over to Silverman far side. Indians trying to push things forward along that far side with about 3 minutes to play. Gateway with the strong defense and the takeaway again. Lococo settles the ball, gets knocked down hard, and the foul by the Indians will give Gateway an opportunity here to set one up. Be far away from the goal, but nonetheless an opportunity for Gateway to kill some clock and set up some decent offense in the latter stages of this second half, holding a 3-goal advantage. Let's see what Lococo can do with this opportunity.
Gators kick. Nick Lococo.
Lococo satisfied to push it back, settle it down. Hansman has it for the Gators. Now James Lococo. To the far side it goes. Out of bounds, last touch by Penn Hill, so it's Gators ball. On the throw-in with less than 2 minutes remaining. Taken away by Penn Hills again. Strong defensive play there by the Gators. Max Fry. Kicked all the way back to Queter. Queter, who has played a spectacular game for the Gators, making just one mistake, and that ended up costing the Gators a goal. But other than that, just a spectacular game for Queter. You never expect perfection, especially at the high school level. Lococo dancing. Shakes and bakes. Collision out towards midfield. Ball knocked to the far side. It'll be Gators ball, Indians ball with less than a minute to go.
In the game.
The official allows Penn Hills to move the ball up 50 yards away from the end line. Long go of this one. And fair caught by Jack Queter. 50-yard shot by the Indians, and Queter with another save. Less than 30 seconds to go. This one will bounce all the way back to the netminder for the Penn Hills Indians. Hankey. And Hankey will just let this one die, and that will do it as the Gateway Gators get their first victory of the season. A 5-2 win over the Penn Hills Indians, and with the win, Gateway now 1-1 on the season, and they are more importantly 1-0 within WPIAL 3A Section 4. As we review this one, Gateway had a spectacular performance, not just from their goaltender, Jack Queter, who we talked about, but Blake Marsh with 3 goals today. Lococo with the goal coming on a penalty kick, and the first goal of the game for Gateway scored by Owen Etchegare. 2 goals scored for Penn Hills tonight, coming from Carlins Joseph. Joseph had 1 goal coming off of a head on a corner kick coming from the far side. The other one came as he split 3 Gateway defenders, was able to step around Jack Queter and get the lone goal for the Indians. But more importantly, Gateway scores 5 while the Indians scored just 2, and the Gateway Gators improve their record to 1-1 on the season, and more importantly 1-0 within their conference, while Penn Hills falls to 0-1 in both season and conference action. Well, that'll do it for our coverage this evening here at Pete Inamarino Stadium. We'll join you again this upcoming Friday as the Gateway Gators football team will travel to Woodland Hills to take on the Wolverines. For our entire crew I'm Adam Gusky, thanking you for joining us here on GatewayGatorProductions.com.